Hola, boa noite. Carl Munson here, and it's so nice to see a love heart already in the emoticon range there. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody who's tuned in already. And it's slightly different tonight because we're trying our luck on YouTube, going live on our YouTube channel. So if you found us that way, or if you're tuned in that way, please do say hello, and let's see how that's working. I'm accustomed to broadcasting on Facebook, both the Good Morning Portugal show pages and the Expats Portugal page of Facebook. And tonight is a bit of an experiment. I know I can do it, and I've done it once or twice before, but we want to see how it goes on our recent milestone of going over 1,000 subscribers, which is a great milestone for us. And thank you to everybody who's been part of that. So yes, this is the Portugal show with me, Carl Munson, aimed primarily at our transatlantic friends, broadcast at a time of day where they might be able to get involved. In a way, of course, 9 o'clock in the morning, Lisbon time is a little bit difficult if you're on the other side of the Atlantic. But the time difference in terms of the clocks going back over the weekend may have thrown things. And forgive me for sounding like some sort of Luddite peasant. Although, as you can see, I've got 2 layers on and I've got my smock from working outdoors pretty much. Yeah, 2 layers on because the clocks have gone back. We're into autumn now here in Portugal, well and truly. And I don't know what time it is for you. So as well as telling me your name, where you're from, what your relationship is. It's sounding like some sort of FBI investigation already, isn't it? This isn't part of your visa application. This is just me being friendly. But if you could tell me as much as you want to from the following list, your name, where you're from, if you're listening in the States, or wherever you're from, if you're tuned in tonight, it's lovely to have your company. But yeah, it's great to hear from folks in the States and what time it is there. Because it's so incredibly, we have our occasional guest from Hawaii, and it's before lunchtime there, but for others it's going to be later in the day. So do let me know what the temperature's like, what the time is. Use a pseudonym if you wish. Difficult to knock up a Facebook profile, I know, very quickly for that purpose. But look, this is the idea. Julia Santameri, who joined me a little while ago, is saying good evening, and we we are glad to have you here. And we had such fun with you on that Friday morning with the laughter yoga. Julia, it was such fun, and I hope people have been in touch with you to find out more about aromatherapy and maybe even laughter yoga. I know that wasn't your principal subject, but you seem very good at it to me. So thank you for your company this evening and your boa noite. Helen, what do you mean, Helen? This is so funny. What, a man with a Barcelo cockerel in his gardening wear, stepping in to do a live stream show on Facebook and YouTube. What's funny about that? A show of 2 halves tonight. The first half being the D7 Visa Clinic. And a very good friend of the show, listener and viewer Ray, shared with me the reasons from his intelligence, his intel, and his research, the reason why people tend to fail or get their D7 visas delayed. Okay, so I'll share those with you. Mia, Mia, Portugal, same time as you. Yes, very funny, Mia. In Porto, I believe. And yes, we must meet on one of these evenings, Mia, and tell everybody about what you do, because I really love your online European Portuguese language tuition system, style, approach. Everything that you do, I think, is really very wonderful. And we must talk again because we had a lot of fun, I think. Well, from my point of view, anyway, we had a lot of fun talking on the morning live stream. And I'd love to talk to you in a more leisurely way one evening here, and we can you can laugh again at my Portuguese, not just you, Mia, but everyone else watching. 5 p.m. Thanks, Mia, anyway, for tuning in tonight. Really great to have your company. Linda, hiya, Linda. It's 5 p.m. here in Central Time. In 1 week, we will turn clocks back, and then you'll be on at 4 p.m. again. Okay, so we've just got a week of the difference, and then we'll all be caught up. I guess that's, I mean, sorry again, sounding like some sort of terrible Luddite peasant, but obviously that's going to be all of America, right? Doing the clock change. I mean, I wouldn't put it past you guys to change at different times, because I know you like to have your independence and everything, but that would be too chaotic, wouldn't it? Even for America right now, to be changing your clocks at different times. But maybe you do, I don't know, you'll tell me. But that's really good information, Linda. Thank you very much. And I hope to give you some very good information myself tonight in return. Do please, of course, shape. It's like one of those books. My kids have got. Are they? No. The interactive stories where you can choose the ending. It's pretty much like that on this show, really. I mean, tell me what you want to hear, and we'll gear it towards your tastes and needs. That's quite an offer, isn't it? Not one you'll get on every live stream, I'm sure, but I can still do that here. And who knows how that might be in the future. But for tonight, and certainly for the foreseeable future, very interested in I was going to say meeting individual needs. I always regret it when I say something quite as specific as that. And I mean, needs in relation to enjoying life in Portugal and moving to Portugal. Charles, great to hear from you, Charles, this evening. Charles here, brother Carl, South Carolina, 6 p.m. Okay. And we have Steve Merwin. Hola, Carl. Hola, Carl. Carlos, you can call me in this context. 5 p.m. in Minneapolis. Cold here, to 28 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, I didn't mention that with Linda's report. We've got a cold snap here in Austin, 45. That's cold, is it? And Charles and others, you American folk. Me and my friend, my other brother, Frank, Persian Frank, we are thinking of doing some coverage. Charles, tell me what you think of this. Steve also, and Chris might be up for this. Chris Roberts. Next Tuesday night, I think there's something quite significant happening on Tuesday of next week in America, and we were thinking of doing a kind of Portugal show / expat man cave show, where how sometimes you have sports pundits watching the action and talking about it on screen. Me and Frank think we might do that next Tuesday, probably Tuesday and Wednesday nights, because this time Tuesday the numbers won't be in, as your president would say. The big numbers won't be in, but there will be some sense, won't there, of the way things are headed. So that could be very exciting if you, Charles, for example, as somebody who's already joined us on screen and is experienced in these matters and has an opinion on these things, wants to join us next Tuesday and Wednesday evenings. Maybe me and Frank will be here talking about the American election. Will that be good? Or are you just bored of it and you just don't want to hear any more? You've done your vote and that's it, and you're hoping for the best. We shall see. But thank you, Charles. Thank you, Steve. Yes, 28 degrees in Minneapolis. I'll tell you what the temperature's like in the capital of Portugal in just a moment. Helen, I'm in Southeast Asia, Thailand. It's 5:04. No wonder you're cracking up. She's cracking. Why is she cracking up? Tell us more, Helen. Do you? I'm doing my best to be professional here, and I like to think it's in good humor, but I'm not sure why I'm causing such mirth and merriment in Thailand at the moment at 4 minutes past 5. I mean, no one laughs at 4 minutes past 5 in the morning, do they? Unless they've already had 3 cups of coffee or whatever. And it's Tuesday, the 27th of October. Thank you, Helen. I would have worked that out, so I do appreciate it. I think she's laughing at my grasp of the time-space continuum, actually. And Julianne, bonne nuit, Carl. Bonne nuit to you as well, Anne. 6 p.m. here in North Carolina and 72 degrees Fahrenheit. I got to, between you and me, that doesn't mean anything. I don't understand Fahrenheit. I'm getting to know more about it as I do my translations for you guys. Double it and add 30. Yeah, you might have to tell me whether that's good or bad as well. Mia saying, yes, Porto it is. And that is the wonderful picture behind me. Porto by night and that wonderful bridge in Porto. So yeah, there's the... And I'm trying to meet the audience here in terms of context and everything. So I'm showing you a picture of Porto by night because it's the Portugal show and it's 10 minutes past 10 here in the evening. Of course, it's not nighttime where you are. We just have to strike some sort of happy balance with this stuff. But I think we're the best effort we've made yet to reach out to our transatlantic friends via the Portugal show. What would be the ideal, though? Do tell me that, because I was talking to my colleagues, Jerry and Astrid, expatsportugal.com, at one of our meetings this morning, and I was talking to them about what I thought might be the best time for me to do this for the transatlantic audience. Please don't tell me it's going to be like it is for Helen, where I have to get up at 3 a.m. But if that's to be the case, then maybe I can do that once a week. I don't know. Helen, oh yes, sign me up, Mia. I think then I need to find the link for that, don't I? Given that we've got Mia here, we have a link which we would love you to use. We are affiliated with Mia. I'll be completely transparent, honest and vulnerable with you about that, and I will put the link in now. And the great thing about it, of course, is that you join free with this. This is the Kickstarter for your starting to learn and get familiar with the European Portuguese language. So that's going in the comments now. And so, yeah, you'll see on the screen there. Just click on that and you'll be able to sign up free of charge for the Kickstarter and get to know Mia a little bit better. I'm going to have a sip of my coffee. And look, especially for you guys, I have my vintage Disneyland cup. Pretty naff, isn't it? pretty shabby chic, but I like it. My dad gave it to me 100 years ago, and I'm still drinking coffee out of it tonight. So a sip of Portuguese coffee. I've got Portuguese red wine standing by as well. Ooh la la, deeply professional. Pausing for a moment to have a sip of coffee. Lots of people saying hi tonight, and we are getting some hellos from YouTube. This is fantastic. It is an experiment, folks, on YouTube, and it's lovely to see that the comments are coming through to HQ here. So this is working. You shouldn't say things like that, should you? One should not say things like this is working, but that's yeah. We've said hello to Anne, Julianne, and you're joining us via YouTube. Is it all going well via YouTube? David. David, a bit ball. You know, when will Americans be allowed into Portugal? I saw a message from the visa, not the what am I talking about, from the embassy, the American embassy in Portugal. And I thought, oh, here's the good news we've been waiting for. It's a bit unlikely, obviously, at the moment, but I thought maybe there's a change. I don't know, David. And I'm sick of saying, I don't know. But I don't know. That's the honest truth. And you'll be the first to know via me. I'll be the first to tell you when travel restrictions are lifted. And, you know, I don't know how much you want to talk about your election tonight here. And, you know, given that I know so little about it and I just watch with my mouth open most of the time whilst I'm watching American TV and trying to get a sense of it. If Trump is re-elected, which I know will cause a lot of you to be booing and spitting and all sorts of things, and others to say, you know, fist pumping the air and stuff, because it's so polarized and divided, isn't it? We're at that stage now. It's like one way or the other. You're so little nuance now, so little gray, just, you know, black or white, him or him. If Trump gets in, he's all for opening up, isn't he? And getting everyone back to work and making the country work again, etc. That's not quite the right slogan, I know. But presumably then an extension of that will be open, not open borders, because he has different sense of borders depending on which borders, but presumably opening up the country to the rest of the world in terms of travel and tourism is something Trump would do. Whereas with Biden, and you tell me, I mean, just from what I can tell, Biden is about closing down, locking down, and making sure, excuse me, that the virus, I haven't got it, that the virus is banished. And so presumably Biden will be less likely to instigate and stimulate air travel. You tell me, have I put the cat among the pigeons? Helen, really? You can't say that. Ha ha, no Americanos. What does she mean? How does one even get there to Portugal these days? I heard via Lufthansa. Couldn't tell you from Thailand, to be quite honest with you, Helen. And it's not the cheapest of times to fly in the world at the moment either, is it? But the wonderful thing about this show and this live stream and this community is there may well be somebody who's actually flown from Thailand to Portugal and will be able to answer that very question. Helen, I believe Carl can give you the link. I've just done that, Mia. Great minds think alike. He will mention it, if not today, in some other episodes of this great show. Thank you very much. I see what you did there. I'm very grateful for it. So, Helen, yes, the link is in the comments. Click on it, sign up. It's free, and you'll get a sense of whether Mia is the right teacher for you, and if, you know, learning online is the right way for you. People have different ways of learning, obviously, and I recommend a mixture. You know, it's nice to do a bit of one-to-one, isn't it? It's nice to immersion as well. Throw yourself in, get yourself a job in Portugal, and just be right in the firing line. All of these things, I think, help. You know, it's probably best to have more than one method, but certainly I think Mia's should be in the mix. And Nancy Whiteman, hi Nancy, on YouTube. Never put it past the states. The state of Arizona does not change their clocks when the rest of the states do. I kind of knew it, didn't I? I kind of knew it, and could see that would cause chaos, but it would be a I suppose, a proud moment for one group of politicians to say, well, we'll do it in our own way and in our own independent way. Thank you very much. And there you go. There's the proof of that particular pudding or American apple pie in this instance. Thank you, Nancy. Helen, thank you, Mia. Yeah, looking for the link. The expat man cave. This is funny. And that's just me saying those three words. It's really, I think it's very funny when you actually join us on a Friday night from 9. Charles will tell you more about it. He's been with us, and I would love to do it. So, Charles, we're on. It looks like we're on for next Tuesday and Wednesday night. The, what is it, in-flight entertainment on Tuesday, and then the post-mortem or celebration, whichever way you'd look at it, on the Wednesday. So yes, we are on. Good idea. I like it. Fantastic. Steve's up for that as well. And Gary Austin has flown to Los Angeles tonight. No, he hasn't. He's just telling me what... I don't want to shock everybody. He is a mainstay, a pillar of this community. Pillar, I didn't say pillock, I said pillar of this community, Garvo. Los Angeles about 3 o'clock and New York about 6 o'clock. Thank you for that, Gary. Really appreciate it. And he's like an executive producer, you know, and totally voluntary. Tell Frank to put on the gloves and get ready for 12 rounds. I will, Charles. Don't worry. I'll WhatsApp him in just a minute. I like the sound of that. So people seem up for that. The expat man cave, the Portugal show, doing the punditry on the American election. Fantastic. I will get to the weather and the reasons why D7 visas fail very soon, I promise you. But you guys are interrupting me in a perfectly wonderful way. Thank you, says Helen. My pleasure. For anything that you want to thank me for, basically, Helen. Awesome show tonight. Big hug from New England, USA. And that's from Sintra. With a Tomarian Templar Knight thing going on there. That's really cool, Sintra. Thank you very much. Awesome show tonight. I'll take it. Thank you very much. Big hug back to you. Abraços. Mia is great, says Linda. I've not started. I have started, but not far yet. So there's an instant testimonial from Mia, from somebody who signed up. And the feedback from YouTube, yes, it's going very well on YouTube. Thank you, Carl. Marvelous. Off topic a little. And I don't, you know me, I'm happy to be pushed off topic, Steve. I do it to myself all the time, so I won't mind you doing it. Off topic a little, but your Porto green screen reminds me of a great film featuring Porto and Port called A Year in Port. Just watched it on Amazon Prime this last weekend. 2 thumbs up. My daughter says that. So that comes from America, 2 thumbs up, does it? That phrase? It's the greatest accolade I get when she's cooking for me. 2 thumbs up, Daddy. So yes, 2 thumbs up for Porto and Port and that movie, A Year in Port. Thank you for that. So I'm sure other people will find that useful, Steve. So not at all. Don't worry about going off topic at all. We're not too topic bound here. I mean, we try and do what we said we're going to do, at least, but we can be pushed off piste, as you often see, I'm sure. The production value is great and coming through. Well, Sintra, thank you very much indeed. I'll see if I can keep that up. Hi, Carl. Lovely show. Waiting for news on D7 for the UK. What happens in the meantime? Will there be an extension because of COVID restrictions? Do you know? And again, this is one of those areas I don't know. And even the experts, you know, I work with people who do know, who properly know about these things. You know, the Hey Immigrant, who we do our Portugal calling webinars, you know, of this particular specific subject. We did one last Thursday. Already, like I think I posted it 2 or 3 days ago, and like 500 people have watched it. You know, there's a definite thirst and appetite for finding more about the D7 visa and what you need to do. And as I said, I'll be going through the things that knock it back. I'm not going to tease you too long about that. It's because of your lovely comments, I promise you. So D7 visa for the UK. Is that assuming, Vara, that you will be coming after the completion of Brexit, when Brexit gets done or got done? What happens in the meantime? Will there be an extension because of COVID restrictions? Excuse me. I'm talking too fast and getting a little bit too excited. What I can tell you, I can't answer that specifically because, you know, there hasn't been a general delay or grace based on the COVID restrictions. But generally speaking, some things within the bureaucracy, within the government departments, have been given 1 month and 2 month extensions. So I think you can anticipate some leeway based on the absolute chaos that is going on around the world. So that's the best I can tell you at the moment. Things like driving, people extending their the deadlines on changing driving licenses, for example, that's been given a 1 or 2 month extension. And I see these things from time to time. And one really good source of information, because it tends to get filtered there first by the government, it would seem, is Safe Communities Portugal. A very good resource, Safe Communities Portugal, for all this sort of information. As obviously, as well as stay tuned here and ask the question in the expatsportugal.com forum as well. Pop it in there, people will follow, and then information. And I'll do my best to as I said before, this question of when can you come to this country even? As soon as I know anything or I'm aware of any changes, I'll be putting them in the forum. Okay, that's the place to look. So I hope that helps a little bit, Vara. It is so vague, it really is. And even the most knowledgeable people in this, with Brexit, for example, just don't know what yet. Where are we? Near the end of October, people don't know what's going to happen on the 1st of January of next year. It still remains quite a lot of a mystery. Alex, good evening to you. Boa noite, Carl. Porto is a beautiful city, and I'm finally free of quarantine. So heading off to Tenerife on Friday to get away from a wet Glasgow. Don't blame you, Alex. Sounds like a good call, that one. Have a great time in Tenerife. Sintra says 6:15 in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Thank you, Sintra, for that. Very good. Hawaii doesn't change to me. That everyone's doing their own thing, aren't they? It's what you love about America. And says, I'll watch over my hubby's shoulder during the expat man cave. You don't need to do that. Sit side by side for the man cave. We do not, we're not prejudiced or any of those terrible things that people can be. What we say and what we do is like we come from a particular point of view, and we hope that people who like that tune into it. And it's really not meant to exclude anybody at all. And there is talk, actually, Anne, of a lady, and this is where I get into some hot water. I start by using the word ladies, which must sound very British and quaint, but an expat woman cave. Some people have called it the Bat Cave. Some have called it the Dollhouse. There are different suggestions for it, but there is talk of a rival show. Obviously, I can't do it, and we need someone to step forward to present that, and we would give them our complete blessing from the Man Cave. Shauna, good evening to you. So, Anne, please you don't have to, unless of course that makes it more fun. I can understand that you're watching over his shoulder and sipping his beer while he's not looking or goes out of the room for a minute. Yes, I get that. Some sort of vicarious pleasure or some naughty pleasure. Hello all from Shauna. I'm not saying you're doing that. I'm just saying that's a possibility. I'm not accusing you of anything. I love having Charles Mitchell on the Expats Man Cave. Isn't it great, Gary? Me and Gary are Brits living in Portugal, and we have really enjoyed, reaching across the Atlantic, and we have a lock-in afterwards. So we do an hour of live stream, and then we have a drink afterwards with each other, like it's a private Zoom call, and that's really great. Excuse me a minute. Let me just have another sip of my coffee. I hope Sintra doesn't think I've let the production values down a bit by muting the mic and having a sip on my coffee. But it's only me. It's only me. And until I can get an app that lets me drink coffee without drinking coffee, if you see what I mean, via some microchip, I'm going to have to keep doing that. Charles says, here he is, stirring things up. Trump will get things open so I can come to Portugal in May 2021. Please, no fighting among yourselves. Vara says, yes, more or less. But if I need to, I could come over first and the family follow. Yes, that's a good shout, Vara. It really is. The more you can do to set things up, the better your chances are. Obviously, with family connections, stand for something in Portugal. So that really would help and would really work. Get here if you can before the 31st to get the wheels in motion. I really do recommend that. Deborah Davies, will there be an extension on the withdrawal agreement deadline of 31st of December? I don't know the answer to that, Deborah, and I refer you to the cop-out I've been giving. And it is, I don't know what else to say. I'm so sorry. And my defense is the biggest and most knowledgeable brains in law and European relationships, political relationships, don't know the answer to these questions. When they do, and when they say, I will be the first to tell you, what kind of visa would it be if you're not retired and will be working as a digital nomad? Did they not call that the D2, I think, Charles? Try D2 on that. And just last couple of comments before we have a look at these wonderful message from Ray, listener Ray, viewer Ray, who from his experience tells us what gets your D7 knockback. It's a Bonoit. Stop at you too, Lauren and Andrew, in your picture there. Bonoit from Raleigh, all loved up in Raleigh tonight, and quite right too. Excellent. Right back at you, Gary. A bit of bromance going on there in the comments. Fantastic. Okay, so it was weather first, wasn't it? Just you've shown me yours, I'll show you mine. Lisbon weather. Actually, if I bring this on the screen, it might be a bit more helpful and make a change from looking at my Fizzgog constantly. So let's bring this up on the screen and see what's what here. Did that work? That did work, but it will help if I just change the background to make it a little clearer for you. There you go. So in Lisbon tonight, and I'll do this in Fahrenheit for you, just to give you a comparison. Again, I suppose it's what you're missing out on, isn't it? But you know, part of what this is all about, and people seem to like this phrase, is keeping your Portuguese pilot light lit. Okay, we're keeping those embers glowing, and keeping your love of Portugal alive through this connection. So just to let you know what's happening in Lisbon tonight, you wouldn't be out and about on the streets tonight, drinking wine in front of a beautiful cafe or restaurant because it's raining. You'd be inside. 54 degrees Fahrenheit in the capital, partly cloudy. 66 was the high today, and looking forward for the rest of the week, it's a pretty sort of cloudy, rainy picture, clearing up on Thursday when it rises to 73 Fahrenheit and 75 Fahrenheit on Friday. 2 lovely days, a bit cloudy on Saturday, and a nice sunny Sunday of 75 degrees Fahrenheit there in the capital. There you go. That is my weather report for you. So let's get on to what you probably tuned in for. And I said it was a show of two halves. I wanted to do some of the COVID politics. That's probably a bit more for the people who are living here already. So you're very welcome to stay, but you are excused after we've had a look at this message from Ray. And I may pause a little bit as I'm doing this because it's quite a long and an excellent email from Ray. But I do want to give you the condensed, must know sort of information, and this is the number one in this little list, and it's not too long actually. I think there's only about 4 points to cover, but number one in this list, they have no NIF number, and that requires, I think, some explanation. I don't know if you use the word NIF in America for smell or aroma, that something has a sort of nasty NIF to it. It's nothing to do with that, the NIF number. The NIF number is your financial number. In England, it's akin to the national insurance number. It's not a tax code, but it is a reference that connects you to the tax system and allows you some tax relief. And it's what you'll be asked for. For example, when you're going about your business in a shop, I go to a supermarket, and whilst I'm paying for my goods, they will say the word you'll hear is contribuente, your contribution number, as in your tax contribution, I guess. And at the end of the year on your tax return, you can validate all the transactions that you've done. Well, not all of them, but I think various categories of spending give you certain amounts of relief. So that is an encouragement for people to give their number when they buy things so they can reduce their tax bill. But it's not just for that, but that's a context for it. And how many numbers is it? I won't give mine out over the air, although, I mean, it doesn't matter really. So it's a nine-figure number, 9-figure set of numbers, and you will give it, you might hand it over when you're having an invoice issued. And actually all manner of things. Some of the Garvo and other people who live in Portugal will tell you where they've been asked for their NIF number possibly. But this is number one. You've got to get a NIF number basically to get into the system. It revolves around your paper trail, your this tax number, this contribuent number. Fiscal number is another way it's referred to. So make sure you get the NIF, or a NIF is being got for you. And these come from the Finanças offices, okay, finance offices around Portugal, and pretty much every town hall has a Finanças office. And what you do in Portugal is you go in and you take a ticket, and you pick the right ticket for the right sort of inquiry. And this is where it gets a bit stressful if you're not used to the culture and you don't speak the language. But you can't just sit down or rock up and walk straight up to a cubicle. You've got to get your ticket number. probably like in America, do you use them in delis, in supermarkets, where you just take the number to get your turn in the queue? But it's not just the whole queue. The queue is divided into different kinds of inquiries. So you've got to make sure you get the right one. Finances is what you're looking for. They'll call you up. You pay a little bit of money for it. I think it's, less than 20 euros, as I recall. Where I did it, it was very easy. You don't have to, at this stage, you don't have to have a Portuguese address to get your NIF number. Certainly that wasn't the case for me. And a friend of mine recently said he went to get a NIF number, and they said to him, you're already on the system from your visit 20 years ago. So they keep pretty good records. And he obviously didn't have a Portuguese address. So you can get your NIF number and get registered in the system and, have this number without being a resident at that stage. Okay, so that's number one. The knockback on visas, on D7s, is because the person hasn't got a NIF number. And I think, explaining that, I deserve another sip of coffee. What do you think? I'm going to do it in I'm trying to do it as quickly as possible, so there isn't loads of dead air. But it's going to help us all if I'm allowed to drink coffee this evening. 2 bottles of red on the desk. There's a little bit left of the Douro, the Filipa de Lencastre, the Douro red, a red blend, which is very nice. And I'm looking at, from the Carmine producer in the Alentejo, a 2018 Reguengos, which is also catching my eye. I should have opened it before the show and let it breathe a bit, but this is my sequence that I'm looking at off screen: coffee, red wine, and then another bottle of red wine. Not 2 bottles of red wine, just the residue of the other one. So you don't think terrible things about me. Right, so that was number one, the NIF number. Let's see what you are saying about that, and if I can elaborate any further. Lauren says, for digital nomads, it's either D7 or D2. We're working on seeing if we can go via D2 visa, since we both work remotely. Keep in mind, each consulate does their own thing. There you go. And this is another thing to know and be aware of, is that, although there would appear to be an objective set of rules and laws around this, these things do get interpreted. And it's a bit like, was it Arizona and Hawaii not putting the clocks back? Offices do their own thing here, and that's why it is good to have a professional help you, because they're dealing with these people every day. They know the lie of the land. Obviously, if you want to save some money and do it yourself, you can, but you should factor in extra time, certainly, and extra head scratching and possible stress, and develop an incredible amount of patience. I think would be another thing. Allow plenty of time, but yeah, get hold of some good professionals. The number of people doing this. We like working with Gilles de Pereira at Hey Immigrant, who you'll find in our business directory. Actually, what I'll do is I'll give you a link to that as well, should anybody need to just check in on Hey Immigrant, because the way I say it, I think, confuses people. That's what I thought I'd nailed it. And this is so often the case with Portuguese pronunciations. I think I've got it. And then Portuguese people are still laughing at me. So let me give you the link. There's nothing better, I think, than an actual electronic link. And this actually is to our whole business directory. There's all sorts of stuff in there. And if you become a premium member of expatsportugal.com of us, you'll get your 10% discount on it as well. So there's the business directory. If you need some professional help, there it is. Let's see what else is being said here. Vara, can you apply for a D7 after arriving in Portugal without obtaining a D7 visa in the UK? Does anyone know? How would that work? No, because I think D7, I guess you could do it now, strictly speaking, couldn't you? Because you would be a Schengen person already allowed in, an EU person already allowed into Portugal. You'd be applying as a kind of trans-Portuguese person, or meta-Portuguese person, for the D7. So you could do it while you were here based on being in the EU until you're not in the EU, and then your application would make more sense after the UK leaves the EU. I think anyone's guess is as good as anyone's at the moment. And the thing is to be making the inquiries and taking it to the man. Go to the authorities, ask those questions, start the processes going, because that's the thing. Get the pedal on the metal, keep moving, and drive through it as best you can. Don't wait. I think this is a key message I've picked up from talking to lots of people, lots of experts, is get started. Don't wait. And if you're lucky, you'll drive a nice line through. But like, we know this, don't we, as grown-ups, that in life, often the journey isn't that straightforward. And certainly with interpretations of law and different places around Portugal doing it slightly differently and different waiting lists. And then the pandemic on top of that, there are going to be, prepare for complications, but do get started is the best overall advice I can give. I'm thinking a Portuguese person is going to tell us what the NIF is now, which is helpful. NIF equivalent to tax ID number in the USA, says Joan Oliva. I hope I pronounced that correctly. So there you go. Yeah, it's Joanne says it's the equivalent to your tax ID number in the USA. That's really helpful. Thank you, Joanne. And take a ticket is a thing here, certainly in Charles's part of the States there. And aí serviços de apoio ao emigrante. Thank you, Steve. I wouldn't know if you're a happy customer or not, actually. But thank you for that. I appreciate it. And when I was talking to Gilda about this the other night, in my pathetic attempts to try to pronounce the name of her company, which I was avoiding, because that's pretty that's pretty cowardly of me, isn't it? But then I thought, okay, I've got to do this, and I talked to her about it, and it's about immigration both ways in and out of Portugal. So you've got the emigrant and you've got the immigrant, which we've got in English, of course, as well. But that's the rationale behind the name. Helen has signed up. Well done, Helen. That's nice to see, and I hope to see you as a fellow student on the course, which I'm sure Mia facilitates in some way, bringing the students together. So that'll be fun. Learning with somebody who's in Thailand. And here we go. Look, here's a nice testimonial already for Gilda at Immigrant. Gilda is amazing. She's helping us, and so far has been brilliant. There is too much of Portuguese law that I would be worried about if I didn't have her expertise. Bits of it are a bit hard to understand. So fair play. Thank you, Deborah. Appreciate that bit of input there, and a testimonial basically. Do you know if you have NHR tax status, if you still need to file a tax return? Gary, yes, you do. That is my understanding. Hearing a similar question in the webinar context. Yeah. And that's normal, isn't it? In most countries, it's like, even if you don't owe them anything, they want to know that you don't owe them anything. So I believe you do. You have to file it anyway each year. And this is a nice bit of random input from YouTube. First time doing this proper on YouTube. And this is what we perhaps need to get used to. This thing is very nice. It says, Nyungich Guru. Thank you, Nyungich Guru, for that. Okay, second thing on this list then, from listener viewer Ray, the reason why some people get kicked back, knocked back, delayed, is they have no Portuguese bank account. This, he says, in his words, is a showstopper if you have no Portuguese bank. Okay, so obviously that's a requirement, something you need to get done, and prepare for being a rock star. This is how I reframe opening a Portuguese bank account, right? You will have to sign. It might be an electronic screen, given that our attempt to go paperless as a culture has been going on for 30 years now, hasn't it? But you wouldn't guess that sometimes in Portugal, because there is a love of paper and paperwork, and the banks are no exception. Okay, so when you do open a bank account here, and if you are asking for a recommendation, which nobody has done yet, but I suspect you might, I would go with, I think Millennium BCP are pretty good. What I'm telling you, what I'm recommending is my good experience. And the thing to bear in mind is not so much the brand. If you're talking about brands, overall the best brands, the best brands that I'm aware of, from general conversation, from my own experience, from other people's experience, and a lack of massive criticism and negativity, are BCP, and I also like Urubic, EUROBIC, Urubic. And the reason I like both of those is because I've had good experiences in particular branches. Okay, BCP are all over the place. Urubic were in the last town that I lived in, and I struck up a lovely relationship with the people in there. That's why I like Urubic, and to some extent, that's why I like BCP Millennium. They're good because they're all over the place. The electronic banking thing is fairly easy to understand? But get a recommendation on a branch. So it's not just the brand, it's the branch as well. Get some intel on the ground here and get to know where a branch, inside the branch, there are people who speak good English. I mean, mainly in banks, people do. But it's also about willingness to speak English, because I understand that people might not want to, or they might feel a bit self-conscious. But if you hear from friends or from a company or an agent or whatever, or someone like Gilda, they give you the recommendation, go to this brand of bank, go to that branch because they're used to dealing with expats. That's what you want at this stage, isn't it? You want a bank that understands this, that you're involved in the D7 process and will know what paperwork to give you and what access to give you to your own account and all that sort of stuff, so that you can give the necessary paperwork. So brand of bank for sure, BCP or Orderbic are my personal favorites, but get a recommendation for a branch that knows what it's doing as well. So, and this was knockback number 2, people not having a Portuguese bank account. Okay, number 3. Actually, before I go to number 3, another sip of coffee and a little cough off mic. Looking forward. I need a little jingle to play, don't I? That's what I should have, is a little bit of music. I should put you on hold and play Vivaldi's 4 Seasons or something else that's related to coffee or drinking or something like that. Or personal hygiene or something along those lines. Okay, yes, on the matter of banking, Helen. So which bank is easy for mobile banking for international transfers? In all the conversations I am a part of or I eavesdrop on, TransferWise seem to be doing the biz on that. People speak highly of them. Revolut do it as well, but there are daily limits, and banks will sometimes have daily limits unless you go for some sort of international wire transfer that they make you pay extra for. But generally speaking, Helen, TransferWise so I've just seen your next comment. TransferWise seem to be to get the most accolades and thumbs up, 2 thumbs up sometimes. Yes, you need music. Okay, Helen. So you don't like the dead air when I cough and drink my coffee and turn the mic off. I get it. I will work on it. I promise you. But your suggestions for non-copyright on hold music would be good. I mean, I'll drive everyone nuts, wouldn't I, if I played the 4 Seasons? But then again, some people really like that. So a Marmite piece of music. Okay, third thing. In this list, and we're all I may not get around to this. Always happens, doesn't it? I think, oh crikey, I better think of quite a few things to talk about, because we've got an hour to fill. We're already 3/4 of an hour through. I've only done 2 of the 4 things, and we might not get to talk about COVID politics. Maybe that's a good thing, folks. So from listener Ray Viewer Ray, it is important on the personal summary to naturally share why you want to move, and then followed by where you bank in the USA and Portugal, followed by what is called passive income. So this is where you have to substantiate yourself in Portugal, and obviously, your pension income, your stocks and shares, any trusts, passive income rather than job income, to show that you can support yourself in Portugal. And something that Gilda recommends is that you have a year of minimum wage in the Portuguese bank account that you open, and if it was a couple, around 10,000 euros should suffice to show that it's 650 the minimum wage in Portugal, would you believe? And then 50% of that for the second person would be a reasonable showing of your ability to support yourself. And then my maths are off, aren't they? So let's say that's 1,000. Let's call it 12,000 euros in your bank to show that you could support yourself for a year. Okay, so detail all your sources of passive income, pensions, rental incomes, those sorts of things it does what it says on the tin. Passive money that will come in whether you work or not. Lucky you. And I'm just having a quick look on the final reason here. Other reason, process is very tiring with all the detail. Yes, okay. Attention to detail, I think, is the fourth. Just to sum up the this last point of what's looking like the 4 most popular reasons from this particular person and their research and intel on this is attention to detail. Get it right, folks. It is a long and tiring process, obviously, and very thorough and requiring a lot of information. An example that Ray gives here is if the husband and wife's or the partner's paperwork is mixed up and the wrong bank statements go under the wrong person's respective person's application. That's going to get you knocked back. And I guess, if it were you dealing with I don't know, tens, hundreds, thousands of these applications, I guess you might lose your sense of humor after a while and just, knock back things that just don't work and get people to do them again. And I suspect that's what you're up against with this one. So attention to detail. So just basically, roughly speaking, then make sure you got a NIF number. Make sure you've got the Portuguese bank account with according to Gilda's advice, 12 grand in there of euros to show that you can support yourself, you and your partner for a year. And that's not a massive amount of money, is it, for a year support system compared to America, I'm sure. But that's what looks good for the Portuguese system. And be natural and thorough with your personal summary, and make sure your attention to detail is good. Don't get what was a cat fight outside? That's interesting. And also the other noise you might be able to hear in this office tonight is Peggy, the stray dog, snoring. She suffers from a little bit of congestion when she goes into her theta states of sleep, which can be quite noisy, and you might even hear them on the mic. So sorry, I'm talking about serious things, and then I'm talking about a dog snoring in the office, in the studio. So no NIF number. Make sure you get your NIF. Make sure you have a Portuguese bank account and that 12,000 euros in it. Personal summary, share why you want to move to Portugal, obviously, and be as thorough and effusive and helpful, obviously, for your cause as you can be in that, and detail your passive income so you look like somebody basically who can take care of themselves here. I'm sure you know all of this, but I guess it's making sure all of these things are done and all these ducks are in a row, and make sure there is good attention to detail with your application, that the right bits of info are in there according to the right person's application. If there's, if it's a family, for example, there's going to be quite a lot of paperwork in there, and make sure it all adds up. And all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. I hope that helps. You know me, I'm going to be here in Portugal, doing the Portugal show, doing the Good Morning Portugal show in the morning, here to help, here to answer your questions. It's gone awfully quiet in the comments. It might be that I know some people listen to the show whilst they're at work. So it might be that the boss is in the office and everyone's gone quiet because the boss has come in, or you've had to be called suddenly to a Zoom call or something like that. A couple more questions coming in, which is great. How is the mask situation? Excuse me. A good question, and particularly at the moment, Helen, I did see a little bit of a bust up on a Facebook group. The mask situation is that the guidance is looks like it's heading towards the compulsory wearing of masks in the street where social distancing is difficult. Okay, so at the moment, when you're out and about, you don't have to wear a mask, and if it's social distancing, and you go into a shop and then you've got to put your mask on. Where you're with and among people, and the kids in school and at workplaces, people are wearing their masks. When they're walking about in the street, they don't have to bother, which comes as a great relief to me personally, I have to say. But however, in situations now, and it looks like this will happen within this coming week, although it's not law, it is a very strong directive. And there is this grey area now. And obviously, as an expat, as a visitor, you want to be doing the right thing, don't you? You don't want to be getting yourself into hot water and having a row with the authorities. I don't think that's a good look, But so to really be up on the measures and the restrictions and the impending law, there is this new thing, which is masks are to be worn in situations where social distancing would become difficult. Okay, so that's on its way. However, at the moment, you only have to wear a mask when you're in close proximity to people. I think it's going to change. And actually, the last thing I'm going to talk about is a bit of punditry from an ex-lawyer, ex-politician, social commentator who thinks that the state of emergency will return. It's returned in Spain, our neighbour here, and there is a curfew in Spain from 11 o'clock at night, I think, till 6 in the morning for everybody. So Portugal is looking pretty liberal at the moment. However, the cases are rising, the intensive care units are filling up. So it's likely that some Action will be taken to meet that. Steve, good info. Carl, thanks. This validation really helps me, honestly, to know that we're going in the right direction here. So thanks for that feedback, Steve. Yes, very helpful and good sense of humor. Thank you. Sorry for the lack of music, Helen, and all the coughing and spluttering, but appreciate your appreciation. Can't wait to see the Good Morning Portugal morning edition live one day. Yeah, I want you to be a part of that, Charles. That's going to be a lot of fun. If there's a man cave invasion of the morning stream. Actually, it did happen this morning. There was a mention of one of the more fruity memes. Did you see the yoga one where a man was sunning a particular part of his body in what could be called a sun salute? A little bit disrespectful, I thought, to the creator, but that ran and it became quite a hilarious joke in the Expat Man Cave Facebook group, which you all are welcome to join if you are not easily offended. And somebody mentioned it, and I nearly read it out on air this morning, but I didn't quite go there. What does a state of emergency entail? Okay, Deborah, let me have another. Yes, very disturbing. Charles isn't talking about the state of emergency. He's talking about that particular yoga pose. So sublime and ridiculous, you get that from me. Let's get serious again as we talk about a possible state of emergency here. Helen saying, yeah, good question. Yes, exactly. What does that mean in Portugal? Do they give fines? I mean, fines, people are being fined already for not wearing masks when they should do, or having parties and that sort of thing, and breaking the restrictions in this current state of calamity. I don't know if that's like a quaint translation, but that is where we're at the moment, a state of calamity, which just makes me think of what's that actress, Whip Crack Away. Is it Doris Day? State of Calamity. Calamity Jane, is it the movie? I can't not think of that when I hear of State of Calamity, which I know it makes it sound like I'm not taking it very seriously. But believe me, I am. And I will share with you now, after I've had another top-up of coffee, I think. Or should I go to red wine now? Who else is drinking tonight? And what are you drinking? I've got a lot of coffee here. And Lord knows I need it. So just let me mute it. Just hum. Could you do me a favor now and hum the Four Seasons? Probably, is it spring? The bit that's usually on the hold system. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Take it away. I sincerely hope you were humming the Four Seasons there whilst you were put on virtual hold. We need a state of calm attity. Oh, I say, Helen. I can't believe you made me say that. I will now share with you this bit of punditry that suspects we will be returning to a state of emergency. Whilst I'm doing that, I should, of course, congratulate Lewis Hamilton for winning the Portuguese Grand Prix. And this is part of the what exactly is in that coffee? It's only coffee, I promise you. It would be disastrous if I had any extra alcoholic additives in the coffee. I haven't even started drinking yet tonight, Helen. How very dare you? Let me just move this story to a place where I can share it for you. My favorite place for sharing Portugal news is the Portugal Resident, and my favorite writer is Natasha Don there. Let's see if we can bring her on the screen via her work anyway. Portugal will be returning to a state of emergency. Yes, whilst I was doing that and whilst Helen was making me laugh, I was congratulating Lewis Hamilton, who won the Portuguese Grand Prix at the weekend, becoming a record-winning number of Grand Prix for him, right? Beating the world record. Listen to this scandalous gossip about me. Don't worry, he's usually on the wine. Honestly. Oh, I can't believe it. Okay, yeah, but I resent it, but I don't deny it. Portugal will be returning to state of emergency, warns TV pundit as virus numbers escalate. So here we go. To answer your question, I think it was Deborah, wasn't it? And what this might mean, we will walk through Natasha Don's article here, published today on PortugalResident.com. Portugal will be returning to a state of emergency. It's simply a matter of time, according to this person. I'm not saying that as a fact. I'm saying that's what this person is saying. This was the message last night from TV pundit, lawyer, and former politician Luís Marques Mendes, as the weekend's pandemic news went from bad to worse. Today, Monday, has seen more of the same. 27 deaths registered in the last 24 hours and another nearly 2,500 new infections. Hospital admissions continue to climb, with numbers in intensive care units now up by a further 10 patients to 240. They go into the death figures there. Now, what I feel I often need to feel the need to say this is that the caveat here is that Portugal has dealt with this incredibly well. And for me, the ultimate figure, I mean, I understand that, the politicians have got a situation to manage here, and that's why these states of calamity and emergency are declared, and that's why they're introducing measures that, increasing numbers of people now feel are over the top, draconian or whatever. But the really important figure from my point of view is the number of people who've died in the country, in any country from COVID, and that number rates Portugal as, I think it was, I looked this morning, I was talking about it on the show this morning, 40th or 41st in the world. Well, how many countries in the world? 185, is it? Portugal is doing very, can anyone be doing well with this? No one is doing well because people are dying. But it's all relative as well with that. And I think it's fair to say Portugal is doing incredibly well. And, each day brings new data, new numbers, and new responses from the government. But the backstory, the bigger picture is that Portugal is doing well. So I don't want you to be thinking, oh my God, terrible place that is, I'm not moving there anymore. This country is doing well with this. And I'm just giving you a little bit of nuance and gray area on this right now with this particular article. Because I don't, I think it's really important that the widest, biggest picture about Portugal. And let's talk about this because as I'm alluding to there, this is another tick in the box for why Portugal is such a great country. The barring some unrest and dissent about the specifics of what's going on in the big picture, Portugal, I think, is doing well, folks. I think everyone would agree with that. DGS Health Authority data does not report on any compound morbidities. Okay, that's a bit specialist. Meantime, European countries are all facing similar challenges as the tide of positive cases rises exponentially. Spain, as I said earlier on, declared a state of emergency yesterday. Italy brought in new measures as of this morning. So giving you the picture of Europe here, Greece has already imposed nighttime curfews. Germany is braced for a very difficult winter, says Diario de Noticias today. Efforts everywhere are focused on saving Christmas. My goodness. What sort of Christmas will this be? But according to Luis Marques Mendes, the man mentioned before here, the situation in Portugal has reached the point where the President of the Republic and the Prime Minister will have to make an announcement after what has been the worst week of all since the start of the pandemic. He told the Jornal de Noite anchor last night, obligatory confinement will be coming. It is simply a question of when. This is his guess, folks. This isn't a certainty. Infection rates now are more than triple those registered during the first wave of COVID-19. But they would be, weren't they? Because testing is on a much larger scale. That's a bit misleading, isn't it? Unless I've got the wrong end of that stick. Yes, and it says here, admittedly, when testing was on a much lesser scale, hospital admission rates have overtaken those registered during April. And according to experts, Portugal is still only at the beginning of the second wave of infections. Experts in the field point to the rate of community transmission in the north already being out of control, and many hospitals there in a situation of chaos. They are not overrun. I think this is a pundit who obviously gets a position on the news by creating the worst possible picture. But I think it's a picture we should consider and think what our response would be, actually. If nothing positive happens to improve situation, Portugal could reach the point where the SNS health system enters into rupture. My goodness. The well-worn expression, flattening the curve, used so much in April, returns to mind, said Marques Mendes, because the country once again needs measures that can guarantee this. Okay, the 25-minute slot continued to highlight the inconsistencies in the approach this far to COVID-19, particularly regarding last week's Grand Prix extravaganza in Portugal. And this, I mentioned the Grand Prix, and this has been a source of some confusion for people because, on the one hand, there are many measures and restrictions, and then how it was done. I don't have a view on this myself, but I can understand why a lot of people have a very scratching their heads about the Grand Prix. It may have been excellent for the local economy, it says, but it was incomprehensible in terms of the message it gave to the rest of the country. It was an enormous error, said the respected commentator. Indeed, the fallout in terms of public and medical opinion not to mention any spread of infections, as families from the hard-hit north will have travelled south for the event, could well go on to jeopardise Portimao's next sporting fixture, MotoGP, due to arrive at the Algarve International Autodrome in November. I should say at this point, and you can see the article for yourself there, portugalresident.com. It is interesting. The voices, the breadth of the conversation is changing. There are dissenters, there are lawyers and doctors who are questioning the government line and narrative, and even actually the medical council here, in quotes, you might be able to see that, is taking measures to identify doctors who took part in an anti-mask protest. I don't think it was an anti-mask protest, interestingly, but hundreds of people were in Lisbon at the weekend protesting against how it's being handled. And I think we should expect that in a democracy, even if we don't like their views. But just give you a picture of what's going on. So there you go. We will conclude with a few questions or comments here, and then I'll drink some wine off air. But let's have a look. Vodafone is failing you again. You're losing your signal. Well, that's a shame. I didn't know that was going on. And I'm on Mayo now. Am I about to have another debacle with a different company, Steve? I wonder. And isn't it funny that people now know that I'm having this Vodafone, or Wi-Fi gate thing, as I call it. Helen, so that's really comorbidities, the up figures. It's flu season. Certainly some people are saying to explain things at this time of year, and in this the way the pandemic is unfolding and is being managed and is being reported. Helen says it's all relative regarding their demographics, elderly population. So yes, Portugal is doing well. I'm glad you agree. Gary, in the first wave of the virus, the focus was on protecting the healthcare services from being overrun. And I think we could all sympathise with that, couldn't we? Increases in hospital admissions are on the rise, and we don't have a vast amount of ICU beds available. It is great that less people are dying, but the one to keep an eye on is the amount of people being hospitalised. Yes, absolutely right, Gary. And I would have thought, from my view of the UK, because it's the thing I can most readily relate to, but they built these mega sort of hospitals, didn't they? Like huge field hospitals almost. Why aren't more ICUs being built? When a lot of money is being spent on all sorts of things, PPE, all manner of things to alleviate the problem. But I never hear of expansion of ICU facilities, which presumably pre-pandemic was an issue. I've never heard of a country, although not that I've done a lot of research, but there can't be many countries that boast about having too much ICU. It's always going to be too little, isn't it? And this obviously is putting pressure on that. But why aren't we? If government money, if taxpayer money is being spent, why aren't more ICU facilities being built instead of these great sort of field hospitals that were first imagined? It's a weird one. Let's have a look. Is it mandatory testing in Portugal? No, it's not. It isn't. And my signal is better now, according to Steve. So that's great. And thank you for the COVID update, says Helen. So glad to be of assistance again. We've run over time a little bit. I thought the balance might be half and half. Some interesting information about D7s, and then a half hour discussing this COVID stuff. But I'm glad with the way it turned out. I hope it's been of some use. The feedback would appear to be 1 or 2 thumbs ups as we conclude tonight's show, and we'll see you again in the morning. Our webinar this week, our Portugal Calling webinar, which you do need to sign up for at expatsportugal.com, is with Peter von Noonan, a great guy. He's become a friend. From my point of view, I don't know. You'll have to ask him if he sees me in the same way. But he's talking to us again about property, about finding and securing property in Portugal. So that's Thursday night's Portugal Calling webinar. Do sign up for that. And because of the take-up on these webinars, we put premium members through. It's like 25 euros, and you get your 10% off all those services that I mentioned earlier on, and you get VIP treatment for the queue to the webinars. So do join us for that. Helen saying, so many independent podcasts now, aren't they? Just helping furnish our picture of what we're understanding, that fill out the mainstream narratives. So Mike Yeadon, that's an interesting one, on podbean.com. Of course, you can hear this as a podcast on Spotify and most other podcast platforms, the Portugal Show and the Good Morning Portugal Show. I think it's down to a world shortage of ventilators. Once they have more, they will expand ICU. Okay, Deborah. So other minds other than mine are thinking this. Why aren't we expanding the ICUs? And I mean, both Boris and Trump did talk about, we've got the greatest minds here. Let's get ventilators built. It shouldn't be beyond us, should it, to come up with this? So much ingenuity. So on a good day, so much love for each other and compassion. When it comes down to it, why a shortage of ventilators? I just don't understand it. But thank you for that point, Deborah. Another fine show today. Thanks. My pleasure, Steve. And can you post that link for the Thursday webinar? And a shortage of staff, it would appear as well. ICU train. That makes sense, Gary. Before I go, then let me just pop in the Portugal Calling webinar. It's in our actually, if I give you this link to our calendar and our What's On, you can see the old webinars there that we've done along similar themes, similar lines, but you'll also be able to book in for this Thursdays as well. Very nice to make your acquaintance in Thailand. How awesome is that I can sit here on the edge of a small town in Portugal, Anadia, and be talking to people in America tonight and in Thailand. Absolutely love it. So thank you all for being here. I'll leave that link there so that you can join on Thursday or look at the old webinars. Final comment to Steve. Trump. That's that is a fabulous comment. And little joke jibe at the end there. Trump promises a ventilator for every American if elected. I'm not holding my breath. See what you did there, Steve. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Bye for now. Maybe see you in the morning. Maybe see you on Thursday. Oh, and of course, Thursday. Got a lovely surprise for you on the Good Morning Portugal Wine Club. A wine I think people can get all over the world. So do join us for that. I'll announce that tomorrow morning on the show. Take care. Bye for now.